Hey YouTube, Death Scatter making another video. Today I'll be installing an Apollointech switch control system on my 2013 Jeep JK. Took a look at a couple of things that were on the market. Obviously the factory, the de facto standard happens to be S-Pods. S-Pods are incredibly expensive. The guys at Rough Country recently came out with a module just like this. Sells for about $199. It gets a little criticism because it's Chinese made. I'm not really sure where this one's made. We'll figure this out. I'm guessing at the price point that I got it for, it's probably another fine product of China. But I tell you what, I went with this over the Rough Country MLC6 for a couple of reasons, and I'll share those with you now. First of all, the Apollointech unit comes with a voltmeter here in the center, so we're going to see the draw on the battery that's happening the whole time that our accessories are turned on. The other thing that I thought was nicer about this than the MLC6, and I'm just going to ignore S-Pods because they're really expensive. They're nice, they're American made. You know, die-hard Jeepers would probably prefer to have an S-Pod, but this is in my price range. Maybe it's in your price range, so I'm going to talk about this Apollointech system, and I'm going to juxtapose it to the MLC6, of which I only know what I've seen on the internet so far. But the other thing, other than this voltmeter here in the center, is that this Apollointech comes with 10 different rocker covers. So you can pick and choose the lights that you think are relevant, or the rockers that you think are relevant to you, as opposed to the MLC6, which you can get rocker replacements through companies like Over the River and Through the Woods. But this is in the box, man. This is right out of the gate. It also comes with a spare switch, which I hope is not an indication that the switches are junk. But so I got 10 different covers to choose from. That means 4 out of these 10 will just be spares. And I'm going to be able to put on whatever I want to customize the look of this. The other thing that I'm noticing right out of the gate that I think I'm going to like about this model is where this mounts is up in between the sun visors over top of the windshield, right behind the rear view mirror. This Apollointech system uses a clamp mechanism here, so it's really going to just clamp down over top of the footman's loop, whereas the MLC6, you take off the footman's loop. There's a hard metal bracket depending on the year of your Jeep, and then you screw the bracket right into the windshield frame as you replace the footman's loop. That's probably a little sturdier. However, the MLC6 then requires you to do some trimming of your plastic work going around your windshield frame that I'm hoping that I don't have to do with this. Not that it's any big deal, but it's just one less step, and it's one more way to keep your Jeep looking pristine and clean. Probably not a big deal, but I did notice that it's a little different. Okay, so I got the module here installed. Installation was pretty simple. Required tools: 8mm socket, 3-inch extension, ratchet. What we really do is pretty simple. We're going to disconnect the mounting screws. Get underneath here. Hopefully I can see it. I don't know how well my camera focuses at short distance, but we got some 8mm screws. There's some at the bottom too, and one over here. There we go. Right there. 8mm screws, bolts, whatever, hold the ECM module into this bracket. We're going to loosen those up and slide this unit down over top of there and then reconnect. Very simple, very straightforward. There's some pictures as to which holes you use to mount the unit depending on the year of your JK, but it's self-explanatory. I'm not even going to bother to explain it. Do want to point out that over here there's a little flat black wire that runs along the back of the ECM module. It's a ground to make sure that the ECM module is properly grounded. Just make sure you don't forget that, and make sure that that's properly connected. Once it is, one of the things you're going to see is that the wires going to the control unit that goes up over top of your windshield frame is pre-wired in. Then there's their hot lead, and then there's your ground. And the next thing that we're asked to do is to get this very long cable here. I'm swinging it around because I'm moving the cable. There we go. We need to get this through the firewall. And what they tell you to use is, even though that this looks like a natural spot that would draw your eyes and draw your attention, where you really want to be is this little foam hole down here to the right of the brake, power brake vacuum assist module. So it's this foam hole right here. Follow my screwdriver. Look at this. You can poke your screwdriver in, and right in the center of it, and it goes right through. Look at that. So I'm actually inside the engine now, or inside the dashboard now. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's a little trick. I say it's a trick. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know. I got a nice long screwdriver, and I am going to electrical tape this connector to the front of my screwdriver, and then use my screwdriver to force this thing through the firewall and into the cabin. Once it's into the cabin, I'll pull through all the slack, and it'll be okay. Perfect. So this went like 1,000 times simpler than I thought it would. Down here, you see my screwdriver handle. There we go. I taped it through, poked it through with very little effort. Let's take a walk. Get over here. I've got the side panel out. No need to do that. Don't waste your time. Let's just get up underneath here, and boom, there's Mr. Screwdriver with the connector poked right through that hole here. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to reach up here now, and I'm just going to untape this connector. So I've got the so I lied before. Go ahead and take this side piece off, because this wire will be running up into this upright pillar. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to pull through all the available slack, because this seems like a nice place to wrap it up and keep any slack so it's not up underneath the hood. So I'm going to pull through what I think I need. I'm going up and over, estimating, yeah, I'm going to have plenty of wire, because that's where the module is going to end up sitting. Okay, so I try to do a few shortcuts and get around not taking out my grab handles, but you got to take out the grab handles. Once you take out the grab handles and you take out the little screw that's in this bottom hole, a good yank, and all of this comes apart, the pillar falls out, and you can just bring your wire now right up through here. You see this? Bring your wire right up through here, and basically right across the top and up behind where your footman's loop is. Right, so very simple. Really, that's all we're after, is a little bit of slack right there, and then it's all just a matter of dressing up the wire, and we'll hide all the slack down in here. So I wanted to show you that, you know, see here, this pin here, if you've never taken this part down before, this just pushes right up into that hole. So it's really just a body rivet. You know, you just push it in, and you pull it right back out, and this whole thing just falls down. And then you're just going to follow the wiring over that goes to the rear view mirror. Alright, and once you have everything there, then it becomes a matter of just put all the panels back behind yourself and get ready to screw that clamp over top of that footman's loop. Okay, so once we got all the wires in place, we got a little bit of slack, we've cleaned up behind ourselves, I'll turn the camera back on. Alright, so mission accomplished. No big deal. I plugged the connector in, screwed it down. This seam across the back here that I was worried about it having to use that two-sided tape, I'm not going to do. I'm shaking it pretty good, because I do off-roading, and I bounce around pretty damn hard on the rocks. That looks like that's on there pretty solid. So this little clamp contraption here And again, I'm comparing this to the MLC6, where it would actually screw into the footman loop screws. This little clamp just seems like it's going to be just fine, because there's no movement. Well, no movement on that at all. Alright, so it's wiring time. One of the things we're going to do now is we're going to get all these wires, and I always like to leave a downward slope on wires that go up into a box. And the reason is, if they ever accumulate moisture or they get wet during a rainstorm, driving in the rain, you want to make sure that the water droplets are always draining off, not finding a way or a reason to travel up, basically defying gravity and go into the box. So we're always going to have a little loop here, and then we're going to want to get our wires over here, get underneath all of these hoses. So we'll I'll be fixing this. So we want to make sure that we do a dry run on the routing, and take the cables, the wires across the back. It may help to pull out your engine cover that just pops off. If you've never done that before, just grab it. You see there's just a couple of friction pins in there. So we'll put that off to the side. So now with this off, we can go ahead and dress the wires across that back firewall. And this is where some nice zip ties come in. The wires coming from Apollointech are already coated with abrasion-proof sheathing, so you don't have to worry about putting your wires in any kind of protective coating. A lot of places, a lot of stores will sell this corrugated piping that you see here that you can put wires in. I don't think you need to do that with this coating that they have on it, or this jacket that they have on it. So now it's just a matter of dress the wires up as we come over, and then we're going to be doing plus to the plus terminal, negative to the negative terminal. I'll be pulling off all the existing connectivity to my accessories, and then there is a third wire coming off this. I think this is a 100 amp fuse. Yeah, this is a 100 amp fuse. This is pretty big. I will take that shrink wrap off there too. But there's a third wire coming off of here, and this is actually going to go in here into the fuse box. And there's this particular fuse they want us to tie into so that the unit inside itself is energized when the accessory power is turned on. So the switch bank is pretty much dead if the key's not in the ignition. Okay, well, the key's in the ignition. I'm going to turn this now to the accessory position, which means forward but not starting the car.
TV, phone, plus HBO for 1 year.
Get down.